All right, let's get it. Everybody, welcome back to Spill Your Sauce. It's your boy D Sharp. Today, special guest, we got multi-platinum, multi-artist work with Future, Thug, Summer Walker, and countless others. We got my nigga Daniel East. What's cracking, my boy?
Yo, what's good, man? My
How you
bad.
feel?
I'm feeling good, bro. I'm just glad to be here on, Where's the Cook Up and, just talk about, this music stuff, this industry and, this process that goes into it. I was
Mm-hmm.
excited to hear, the platform and the people on here wanted to see me, talk about this stuff. So I'm glad to be here.
Right, right. All right, so let's start it from the beginning. Where are you from?
I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I grew up out there half my life and half my life down here in Southwest Florida in this suburb called Naples, Florida. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it with that. Like I kind of, started music around the time frame when I moved from Brooklyn over to Florida. So I had a
Mm-hmm.
chance to kind of, hone in on these skills over the years, being in the suburbs. So I've seen both sides, the city side and the
Mm-hmm.
suburb side, but definitely still a
Right,
city boy at heart.
right. Your dad was a saxophonist, right?
Yeah, yeah. My dad was a saxophone player.
Was that a
Um,
big influence on you?
Yeah, my connection to my father was interesting because I wasn't always very close to him, but he does have, some of my first memories of music or like trying to play music was with my father. Like, earliest memory I have is a summer I spent when I was in New York. I was still living there at the time, and he was teaching me how to play the saxophone, and it was like like notations, writing notes on sheet
Mm-hmm.
music and stuff like that. Like he learned the old fashioned way, like how they learned back then. um so you know th- Even though I don't know how to play the saxophone anymore, I know how that instrument behaves. So like
Mm-hmm.
I credit like and experiences like that, to him, just like having those types of moments. But yeah, that carried over as after like playing that instrument, I got into just wanting to try stuff out. So later on in middle school, I played the trombone. I was in like a band class.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really wanted to do piano, but that's just where it ended up. Being put at. They just put everybody where they thought they were best at, so they put me at trombone. But even that benefited me later in the future. Just having experience playing with those instruments, you know how they behave, like when you try to
Mm-hmm.
produce them.
Yeah. So how? Because I know for a lot of people that are like trained like that, they have trouble with like maybe creating feeling within the music. How do you feel like you stayed in that middle ground between like being like super trained and just like going with the flow of music?
Well, the interesting thing is I went the first like 8 9 years of my journey just making music, um, all off a ear, and my interest in producing stemmed from the music I was growing up like listening to. I had an older brother who was about twice my age, and so growing up 5 years old, I'm remembering like hearing in the house like the blueprint and you know hearing 50 Cent and just like all of these because New York, that New York street sound and
Right.
just
Right.
like the crazy beats and the flips and Alchemist. I remember hearing Prodigy and Mobb Deep
Mm-hmm.
playing in my house. I remember hearing my sister playing, Aaliyah and hearing those Timbaland beats early before I knew who Tim was, like, so the
Mm-hmm.
beats always kind of attracted me. He listened to J Dilla a lot. My brother listened to a ton of J Dilla, so like he was one of the first early producers I knew of that like was creating these things called beats, and it really
Mm-hmm.
interested me. So when I first started out making beats, it was all sample based. I was just
Mm-hmm.
looping samples, trying to chop up samples and make like them, quote unquote boom bap beats. So my I went off of feeling first before I really started to think like later down the line, maybe like after 5 years of doing that, I was like, okay, I need to start
Mm-hmm.
making beats from scratch because I can't just limit myself to only making beats with samples. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like it going from scratch like and doing everything off of ear, that's a learning process and that's a curve because you gotta like learn how to trust your ear and you gotta know when something sounds right or doesn't
Right.
sound right. So, you
Exactly.
know, I listen to old beats that I still have from back then, and I hear like all the things that I knew back then I was trying to do and just
Right. Are
wasn't
they
making right.
are they still good to you, or are they trash now? Because I know all my old beats I can't mess with no more. Hell
um,
no.
nah, they're kind of trash, but like they're trash in like the good kind of trash. It's like, oh, like
Shit, I
I
don't know what
see,
good
like,
kind of trash
yeah,
is.
that good. It's like I think of the perspective of it. I try to think of it like, man, I was just like 14, 15, trying to make something.
Hmm.
So, um,
Hmm.
I saw the attempt that I was trying to do. Even if I missed the mark, I'm like, okay, I saw what I was trying to do. It's just
Yeah.
whack, but I saw what I was trying to
Right.
do. It's like I can end up comparing it to stuff I'm making now, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, now I'm here. Like I know what I want to make, and I'm able to make it, and it's no problem.
Right.
So
So, so about what age would you say you like started to take it serious as a career?
um, senior year of high school. So at the time, this is I was class of 15, so back in 2015, 2014, 2015 area, um, I had transferred schools at that time. Basketball was something that I liked to do, but it wasn't something that I was gonna be able to take serious for many
Yeah.
factors. Height and all that. I'm 5'5", so I wasn't playing in no NBA
Oh
or nothing like
man,
that. It's slow for nigga. I
man,
was
you could
hoping.
have been one of them
eh,
stories, man. He 5'5", but he still
Yeah,
made it. Hell no.
I was banking on getting like a growth spurt like my brother has. Like my older brother's 6 foot. He's like me
Right,
if
right,
I was 6 foot. So I was
right,
like
right.
banking on something happening. It didn't happen. So I was like, I transferred schools and I wasn't able to do basketball at the other school just because of the timing of all that too. So
Yeah,
my focuses were just like, all right, like basketball was just kind of the thing that I had focused on just because I like to do it and I was spending a lot of time on it. Even though in the background through all these years I'm playing sports, I'm doing other things, the hobby was
yeah,
the beats, and it was continuously growing into something that was like becoming my solstice and like the thing I would go to like really just have fun in it, and I knew I was getting good at. So I just started bringing my laptop to school, and I always just so happened to be sitting in the back of the class. I was low key. I was able to kind of like blend into everything. So I was just in the back of the class making beats. I would put in the headphones. I put it low, and I make sure I have something up on my screen just in case the teacher wants to pry around.
right,
You can
right.
see what I'm doing,
You know, I
but
gotta hide this shit.
yeah, yeah, but and I got
So
caught a
you
couple
supposed to be
times.
working on math. You in here working on beats.
Yeah, yeah, and like
Right.
sometimes I'd have to tell like classmates of mine like, yo, chill, chill, he's speaking too loud
Hmm.
about what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's like, what
Right.
you doing on that screen? Like, you making beats? Oh, like, yeah, calm down.
Exactly.
But
So, well, right. When you really started pursuing it, was it more support or pushback as far as like family?
um, it was in the middle at first. Just cause like the background of my family, being I'm Puerto Rican, Dominican, and
Hmm.
my mom being Puerto Rican, growing up in Brooklyn, single mom of three, like her way of coming up in life and just how she had to raise us,
Yeah.
it put her into perspective of realism. So it's like even though she was she's very supportive of me now. Like she sees the whole vision now. It took
Hmm.
showing her that it could be real for her to like really think, okay, like he can do this. So, it didn't take
Hmm.
long for me to convince her because thank God, like certain things happened when I jot down in that senior year. I told myself after graduation, I'm going hard for a year and I'm finding a way to travel. So in between that year after high school and the year that was senior year, like that was like a 2 year period where I told her like, look, this is what I'm gonna do. And she was trying to get me to go to college at the time too. I even looked at a few colleges for music. There's one institute in Florida, up in Florida. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's Full Sail. Full Sail. I was looking into
Was
Full
it? Oh
Sail
yeah.
University. There was a couple places I was looking into for music, and then there was even places I was looking into for just regular college stuff. And I just couldn't justify like going purposely like working full time and doing school to go do something I didn't want to do. So
Hmm.
I kind of like made like an agreement with her that look like let's do like kind of like a 3 or 4 year thing. If I'm not in this certain position by this time, I'll start to look at other things. But thankfully, like I said, like after that first year after high school, I was working at Starbucks. I was grinding. I was just working full time at Starbucks and making beats and
Hmm.
like and just working networking on the internet. Like that's when
Yeah.
I came up with the Daniel East moniker. Like my middle name is Daniel, and that's what I go by. So it's like in regular life I could go by as Daniel, but East is like the offspring of just like trying to create an identity for me because my
Hmm.
old name was Six Sense. And we all know who's
Mm.
Six Sense. Like Draft Day came
Right.
out,
Right.
and that was a wrap. So I'm like, all right, I gotta switch up
Right.
my
It's
name,
over.
branding, whole thing. But yeah, thankfully everything worked out, and after I
Hmm.
started going to Toronto and traveling, that's when she saw like, okay, like this is getting
Oh, this is the thing
realistic.
you actually want to do.
Yeah.
Who else? Because you said a lot. You said before that like Jay Dilla was kind of like your first like kind of producer that you wanted to like be like, and you started doing stuff like that. What was another one?
Yeah, Pete Rock, man. So Pete Rock is
Hmm.
there's this video on YouTube of him chopping up a sample on an MPC 2500. It's like a real
Hmm.
old. It's like 14 years old at this point, and it's got like a red background behind it. If you look up P Rock NPC, it'll come up.
Yeah.
And it's a classic video, and that shit just as a kid, like 9 years old, 8 years old, seeing that it sunk me in. I was like, what is that? Like he's
Yeah.
playing these sounds off a pad, and it's like it sounded like a record. I didn't really understand that he was chopping up a sample, even though he's explaining it in that way. And
Hmm.
he's rearranging it and doing crazy stuff to it like he would, and um yeah, that really just like that just it did something that I can't till this day I can't explain. Like that
Hmm.
video, I used to look at that video all the time, like to the point where my big brother is like, yo, like stop watching that video. I
Right.
keep
Right.
hearing
Right.
that like all the time. Stop watching it. Go make a
Right.
beat. Stop watching this guy make a beat. you know. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
was
Pete.
listening to such sample heavy music. That's what got you into making samples.
Yeah, that I think it was a natural progression that I went from making sample based beats to making beats from scratch to combining the two and then getting to a point where I was like, why don't I make melodies that sound like the samples that I wanted to sample, like the records that I
Hmm.
wanted to sample, make stuff like that. Um, and the idea did stem from the contributions that were made to music from guys like Jane, formerly Frank Dukes, and
Hmm.
Illmind. So
Hmm.
Q Beats, those were like the three guys
Yeah.
really that in that era, like 2014 era, was when these things started to happen, right? Because Zero to 100 to me was a record that changed everything. It changed the
That's a
whole
fact.
game
Yeah.
because it it led to If You're Reading This Is Too Late, and to me that's the most important album of the 2010s. It's a hot take, but the reason why I say that is
See, this is.
because
I'm not even gonna get into that because I'm gonna get called a Drake stan. But yeah, we're gonna move on.
it's not my favorite album, Drake album, but I think it's the most important from a sound standpoint because it encouraged collaboration and the use of samples that were created from producers, not samples grabbed from records. Like
Yeah.
we heard stuff on that now is still relevant 7 years later. So like that album had a big reason to do with why I started making samples as well, like the producers that contributed to that project. So
Hmm.
um I was like, yeah, I gotta get into this frame and see what I can do. So that started around 2017 for me when I started putting out
Yeah.
sample packs.
So at what moment did you like get that thing of like, oh shit, it's about to happen for real in your career?
um Well, the first moment definitely was the Future record. It was
Hmm.
off of Future and Young Thug's collaboration album Super Slimy back in
Hmm.
2017, and I co-produced All the Smoke. Um,
Hmm.
that
And how'd
record
that come
was
about?
yeah. So with that record, I had connected with this producer named Richie South,
Hmm.
producer based in Atlanta, and um, he had put up a tweet about like sending samples to an email at one point. So that's pretty much what I did. I sent a pack. You know, he liked it. We chopped it up, went it back and forth, and for like 6 months, I just sent a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I was pretty much sending whatever I was making, and eventually one of them hit out of like maybe hundreds that I sent. Just all it takes
Hmm.
is one, right? So one it hit,
Right.
and he had contacted me while I was out in Atlanta, and I happened to be in Atlanta because at the time there was a hurricane that was coming to Florida, so we evacuated Hurricane Irma. So this was
Hmm.
like a crazy time in my life. At this time I'm broke, uh, didn't have a job, was was stressing out mentally about my career and just where things were going. Even though things were going good, I was just had a lot of expectations on myself. So
Right.
um, he just hit me up. I was in a hotel room, with half of my family in there, and he hit me up and was like, "Yo, we got one with Future." Um, and that pretty much just kind of got the ball rolling on that. A few weeks after that, the project came out and the song was on there. So it was
Hmm.
crazy. That was really the first moment that um, I got that rush of like hearing such
Hmm.
high level artists on music that I contributed to. So that was an amazing experience.
Right. How was that like telling your family that you had got one of those big records, especially in that time?
It was it was crazy. Like my brother was more tapped in than like for instance like my mom. Like my mom didn't really know who like Future was or anything, but she
Right.
saw from my excitement that it was a big deal, and my
Right.
my brother knew it was a big deal, and friends I had at the time, people I was growing up with, they all were ecstatic for me. And locally, like in my city, just like being in a suburb, everyone kind of knows everybody. So when that happened, like
Hmm.
word spread quick. So like, yeah, I kind of experienced that effect of quote unquote clout, if you will.
Hmm.
Something that like,
You had all the hoes. I feel you.
hey man, yeah, it's funny because
Say,
like
remember Daniel
people,
up the block with the good hair? He
yeah,
got a
it's
Future record.
it's crazy because I ran into people that like they because they don't understand the process, like lack of ignorance, right? But like they thought I knew Future, and I'm telling them like I
Uh-huh.
don't know Future. I just
Right.
contributed to a record. I don't know them. Shout out to Future,
Hmm.
but I don't know him. So I always try to
That's
keep it humble and just keep it pushing. It was awesome to get that because like it was
hmm
confirmation for me of like what I was doing was the right thing.
yeah. Okay. So after that one, how'd you pivot into getting more records? Because we all know some people catch one and then like they won't catch one for a minute or like kind of stop catching one's period.
Well, I think what you just mentioned was probably the most important and pivotal part of my career, which was how I responded after. And you know, I ended up having like a 2 year period after that. So after the album came out in late 2017, so after that album came out, from like late 2017 to I'd say late 2019, um, I was getting work in. I was, from, pivoting into more sample packs. I was doing my own on my own company, Eastline Libraries. I
Hmm.
eventually got collaboration packs that I was able to do in junction with Kingsway Library, which was like that was off of Jing discovering me, and you know both of us just tapping in. Like I was just sending him stuff, and eventually he wanted me to do a Kingsway. I
Hmm.
went out to Toronto. I flew out to Toronto to meet him and to make that
Hmm.
happen. There was so much that happened in the middle of that journey, but one of the
Hmm.
biggest things that didn't happen was not getting really any records on that
Hmm.
scale. So, and I put a lot of
Yeah.
pressure on myself after my first placement being Future and Thug. I'm like, I gotta do this shit again. So,
Yeah.
when 2018 passed, no records, I'm like, all right, cool, nothing, no, rub the dirt on my shoulder, all that, good stuff. 2019 passes, no records. I'm like, all right, and during this time, I'm dealing with mental health stuff. I'm going through things like life, just like anybody else. So like, I was going through it because it wasn't. It was like an accumulation of things building up outside of just music, but
Hmm.
it was also going back to the music. So like for a while, um, I just kind of was like starting to do my own thing, and like, and yeah, time passes quick, and like I was still doing
Hmm.
samples, and I wasn't always getting the result that I thought I should be, but I always believed in the work that I was doing, and I never
Yeah.
compromised on that. So it's was relieving to get to the point of 2020, which was like that was a breakthrough year for me because like just to go back real quick to late 2019, I had got discovered by Timbaland, and that he shout out to Timbaland because he
Hmm.
caught me at a really interesting time in my life, in my career, a kind of like a crossroads point. I was getting to a point where I was considering quitting, like, and leaving the industry because I just was in that bad mental space where I really wasn't feeling all too good about where things were going.
Hmm.
But shout out to Eric on B Cub. He's a guy who kind of made that whole play happen. But he hit me up on Instagram. It was like, yo, I want to get some samples for you to send to Tim, and we just got to networking on that, right? I'd say like we got our numbers down. A week later, he FaceTimes me, the A&R
Oh damn.
FaceTime me Eric, right? And we talked on phone already, but I hadn't FaceTime, so at first I kind of looked at it, I'm like,
Right.
and I just like answered it, right? And when I answered it, it was Tim, and
Damn.
is just his face, and he's just right there, right? And he's just like, how he is on the stream,
Hmm.
just like, Daniel, you're next. That's all he said. He's
That's
just you
crazy.
next, like, and he's just like,
Damn.
he just big up me, and like, he bigged up, bro. Like, that's the thing.
Hmm.
I don't consider it validation. Like I said, I consider it confirmation. The guy gave me confirmation that I needed to hear in probably the most important time of my life because it changed the confidence that I had in myself after that point because I saw what it was like to catch some steam really quick and then have slow years after that and then finding my
Hmm.
way back to that. So like kind of having him now as as a partner, friend, and mentor, he's kind of showing
Yeah.
me a palette on how I need to go about these things and sure enough, he was a big part of like me getting back on my feet in terms of getting records again. So I
Right.
was able to
That was.
work with him on the Justine album, and
Hmm.
Pax led to the
Right.
summer stuff. So
Right. Because I
I'm
was
glad
gonna
that he
say
asked
that.
again.
Because how like I was gonna say how was it like being embraced by like the people who kind of you know started you or kind of influenced you starting your career.
Yeah, so the first person I want to shout out that I got that feeling from was Illmind. Um,
Hmm.
so back in like 2014, I was still going under I think I had just recently changed to the Daniel East name, rebranded and all that. But maybe a year before that, he was running this thing called Blap the Crap where he would do a stream and he would
Hmm.
review beats that people send, right? I remember I sent a couple beats and he went in on them. Like he roasted me crazy, right? But it
Hmm.
motivated me though. Like it was like I didn't look at it in a bad way. I was just like, man, like I gotta get better. If anyone doesn't think my shit's hot, then it's not hot, and I gotta get better. And
Hmm.
a year passed, and maybe a few months after rebranding as Daniel East, he followed me on Twitter, and that was like the first feeling I got of like, okay, like damn, this guy. I've been looking up to this guy for years, and just a year ago, like he probably doesn't even know these two people are the same individual, but like this is crazy. And then eventually, when Jane came into the picture and he contacted me, he followed me. When I saw at the time Frank Dukes, and when I saw the Frank Dukes follow, I was like, dog,
Oh
like
yeah, everybody's going crazy.
just 2 years ago, like in my head at that time, like just 2 years ago, like I'm looking at him dropping Kings Frank Dukes Volume 7, and I'm just like, oh my god, like these samples are crazy. They sound like they're from the '70s, but they're not. Like,
Hmm.
how is he doing this? And now
Yeah.
he's hitting me up in my DM telling me I'm dope and like he wants to work, and like I'm just like, that was crazy, man. And
Mm-hmm.
then to have the Tim moment too, like that was just another full circle moment, and to have
Mm-hmm.
one of the greatest producers of all time just give me that big up was crazy. So yeah, I've had a couple
Right.
cool moments like that in my life where I've been able to run into these bigger producers
Right.
and chop it up, man. It's crazy.
You ready to break down one of these records?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got something
Yes,
special
sir.
for
Wait,
y'all.
where you at
So
with it? Mm-hmm. Which one you breaking down first?
uh, I'll be doing Tears Fall. So Tears Fall was the sample
Mm-hmm.
that was on Inversions Volume 9, and
Mm-hmm.
that ended up being the sample that turned into the contribution for Baby Mama on Summer Walker's Still Over It album.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. So,
Yeah. So what was the formula, man? How did it start? How did they start?
okay, so this sample was made like it took a few days for me to finish it. It
Mm-hmm.
was made late 2020, like December. I think I started like December 28th, and I finished it on like January 3rd of 2021. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and for a while, the sample I held it because I really liked it. I purposely held it.
Mm-hmm.
The intention was to just try to get it out to producers that I was working with at the time, and see what can come up. So like whether it was bigger producers or even guys that are like my peers and I work with on this level, I just sent it to a bunch of people, and um, I'm sure flips or things that came out of it, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get anything back that was like tangible in terms of like, oh, a record happened with this sample. And like um a lot of times we have those samples is usually like the ones that get placed are the ones we least expect. For
Mm-hmm.
this one, I always expected this one to get placed. I just didn't know how I was gonna make it happen. So I
Mm-hmm.
held it for a few months. I didn't hear anything, and then at the time, it just really fit well with the sound direction I was going with on Inversions Volume 9, and I just decided to put it on that sample pack. And basically after that, I put it out. The pack is doing well. I had it on my site and Drum Broker and everything, so sales were going good.
Yeah.
Few months pass and I get a DM from this producer named Active by Night, and
Mm-hmm.
this producer Active by Night, real cool dude. He hits me up on DM, and he's just like, "Yo, we got one with Summer Walker. Um, hit me up on my number. Like let's chop it up, just figure something out." And yeah, I just
Mm-hmm.
hit him up. At first, when I saw it, I won't lie, like I wasn't like skeptical. I was like, all right, let's see what this is, because this was like, all right, this is real. This is about to get
Right.
real.
That's
So
about to get super real. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so he texted me, or no, I texted him, and we chopped it up for a bit. And he's just like, "Yo, soon this guy named Justice will hit you up." And he's like co-founder of Love Renaissance, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this guy eventually hit me up, like maybe like 3 weeks after that text. So like that's the thing, a couple weeks passed, and I'm like, all right, we'll see what happens, right? One day I wake up in the morning and I get a text from Justice. Is like, "Yo, is this Daniel East with a question mark?" And he said, "This is Justice. Just wanted to confirm with the like contribution to the record, all that, etc., etc." Um,
Mm-hmm.
that was when things really got real too, because this was I went and I got my first official lawyer that I retained and the whole nine. Um, that was like super important. Shout out to my lawyer, Louise West. She's awesome, awesome lawyer, awesome representative.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, basically that was like that was my real introduction to like not just like the feeling of getting like a big record, but on a big album, but it was like the feeling of experiencing just like business operations and how things go behind the scenes when you're setting up splits and all types of stuff like that. Just like maximizing your return on that and what you did in conjunction to the record. So
Right.
that
So
was a
basically,
learning experience.
you just felt on a bigger level a little bit.
Yeah, I felt it on even like just
Mm-hmm.
like bigger level. Then it like because now like after securing representation, I knew
Hmm.
now like okay, going forward with all of my records, like I'm always gonna have this here. This is gonna be set up, and this is because now my career is elevated to a new level after getting to this feat, accomplishing this feat. So
Hmm.
um, shout out to like I said, Active by Night, Slim Wave, and 1985. Those are the other three producers on the record, and
Hmm.
they we all in Junction turned it into what it is, and it's such an awesome record, and I'm just I'm glad to have been
Hmm.
able to be a part of it.
Yes,
But
sir. So,
yeah,
what's the
man.
first thing that went into it?
Um, Piano for sure. So
Hmm.
let me make sure you hear that right.
Hmm.
All right, so with the piano, it's a free VST
Hmm.
labs from Spitfire, and it's just a soft piano. And yeah, I just played a melody. It's two chords. Um, from
Hmm.
what I can tell right here. Let's see. Yeah, so with
Hmm.
this melody, like I guess to break down some stuff like that's like simple in theory. I do everything off of numbers, and what I mean by that is like I navigate like finding my chords and scales through number system versus
Hmm.
doing like the literal memorization of what chord name is what. So like
Yeah.
um these are just simple sevens like here, like it's literally just seven chords in this scale. I think this is C sharp minor that I'm in. Don't
Hmm.
quote me on that, but yeah. So it's like
Right.
I originally played it on the piano at a different scale. I think I played it originally in F minor. Let's see. Yeah, I did it in F minor. Then um yeah, it was like yeah, it was pretty much like those two chords, and I ended up transposing them, and I
Hmm.
did that little top melody over it, and
Yeah.
pretty much came out to that. Let's see if I have any post. No post processing on that one. Let's go through the next sound. Um,
Hmm.
in this sample too, this was Juno 106. These were plugins that I had actually never used before. This was like the first time I was using Rolling Cloud products. So, um,
Yeah.
this sample kind of came out a little bit different at that time, just because I was messing around with some
Hmm.
different tones. But
Right.
this is a pad, and it's just the chords underneath.
Right.
So let's
Was
see
this some?
this.
Did you already have somebody in mind, or was it just free for all?
It was just really just going with the flow, seeing where it takes me. Um,
Hmm.
I was just feeling the vibes when I was creating it, having a good time. Like that's one thing I do remember. I was like, man, I think this shit's fire. So let's see.
Hmm.
Yeah, so just those two chords,
Hmm.
and then underneath, I think this is right here is let's see, it's either a Wurlitz or a Rose. Okay, yeah, it's a
Hmm.
Rose, a Mark One.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the VSTs pop up small because it's 64-bit. I don't know why it does
Yeah.
that. um, yeah, then we got those same two chords, just an octave up. And breaking down this sample, just looking through, because I haven't looked through this flip in a while, but it just
Hmm.
goes to show like I'm not doing one message I want to get across to people before I break down the rest of the sample is that I'm not doing anything that the person that's watching this stream right now can't do. I'm
Yeah.
playing these are seventh chords. Like they don't even got inversions on them or anything. It's just like simple stuff that I'm doing. I'm just going with very precise sound selection and making sure the sounds I use are high quality. Um,
Hmm.
I think this right here is a pluck. This is from Jupiter. So let's go back on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then that just repeats.
Mm.
And what's dope about that part is like with the way it ended up on For Baby Mama, a lot of like the details that I put in the sample got drowned out, but the
Yeah.
intention was for that to eventually happen on the record. Like, um, the person that sampled, like, I guess I could make responsible for inspiring how I approach making a sample was definitely 40. And you'll hear it as like the full sample is shown. Just like kind of like the influence that he had inadvertently on this record, just because yeah, he has a big part of even why I went to Toronto too. Like, I just love the sound that Toronto had, and like it matched with the flavors I had sonically just growing up in New York and Florida. So um,
Right.
let's see. Okay, so this one is dope too. This is Labs um, Atmos preset, and it's just outside noise.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So I set like a little chop pattern of that on MIDI, and it's just kind of like to give some texture to the sample and some rhythm without putting drums. On this, I put decimort, which is it's a
Oh
frequency from
yeah.
the Big Crusher
Yeah.
that gives you the 40 effect if you use it the right way. Put on the image filter, and you can put on this approximate filter too, and just go up and down the knob, and it'll clear out those higher frequencies. Um,
Right.
So let's see. Okay, this was a lead off of SH2, another Rolling Cloud. Like I said, I pretty much used Rolling Cloud on like half of this sample.
Mm-hmm. Is that what's your go-to normally when it comes to plugins?
Um, Arturia is like my main, and Arturia and Complete
Mm-hmm.
Control are like, especially because Complete Control, I can run Arturia plugins through Complete. So like Complete is usually like the main thing I use to create music. Um, and Arteria, especially with expansions like my Onyx expansions of sounds I designed, and Loophole. Shout out to Eli Brown on that. I use Loophole all the time.
Mm-hmm.
One of the sounds I use from Loophole is going to be shown on this too, so I'll be breaking that down on the
Mm-hmm.
next
Shout out
track.
my dog Eli.
Yeah, yeah. So, I think with this, I took off the effects real quick. I put on a flanger from M Flanger. It's a free flanger. Um, and Decimor. Now that's the thing too. Like, you hear the before and after. Like,
Yeah.
the lead is dope. Like, I think it had the potential. It's just like those are the little things you can do to just like beef up the sound and add some character to it. Most people are like,
Mm-hmm.
yo, you gotta cut off these hertz and this, and you gotta bump up this. It's like, nah, just put a chorus or like a flanger on it, drop some of those highs, and you'll get a thicker and wider sounding lead out of that. Um,
Right. Right.
So this was okay, yeah, this right here. This is the Loophole Sound Crocodile Swamp.
Mm-hmm.
This is going so far back. This is when I was still using Analog Lab 4. I'm actually on 5 right now, so this is just goes to show
Mm-hmm.
how long the sample was made. Um,
Right. Right.
so put this up. This was basically just copy and paste of the piano pattern. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so let's see. And then I had a pattern of that I clipped that I did with halftime. So that's the only thing that's on there on that channel.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, let's see. Then this looks like the bass line. Yeah, this is the bass line and Rickenbacker bass and
Uh-huh.
Palm muted. It's super dope.
Yeah.
I love this one. It's one of my favorites. Oh, my screen. Okay, hold on. Let's see. All right, we good?
That's good.
All right. Yeah. So the bass is just following that natural progression.
So did you have other samples like that when you got the call? Did you have other samples where you like, damn, she would have went crazy on this too?
Um, yeah, yeah, definitely. There's stuff on my inversions and even stuff I've done solo, like just like non-public samples I've made that I'm like, damn, like this could definitely work. Luckily now, after tapping in with Justice and those guys that were at Love Renaissance, like I have the ability to send stuff now when I want to, and
Mm-hmm.
I also work with still keep connections to the producers I made the record with, so there's always a chance in the future to hopefully get another one. So we'll see what happens. God willing. But the
Mm-hmm.
last part of this was because even though my samples didn't end my vocals didn't end up on the actual final version of the record. It did end up
Mm-hmm.
on the final version of the sample I did. So um,
Mm-hmm.
just to break down like how I usually do this is because these takes right here are raw. The other flip I'm gonna open up shows my final arrangement, but
Mm-hmm.
essentially like if I play this, it might actually end up a little off time when I play the raw, but so pretty much what I end up doing is just, I'll record for like maybe a minute, 2 minutes straight of just different riffs. Um, if I catch a riff that I'm freestyle singing like and mumbling as I'm going along with the memo that I'm recording on my phone, I'll just repeat that a few times, or maybe do a repetition where I do a different variation, and that's just to give myself
Mm-hmm.
something to work with as I go into chopping up the vocals. So like I'll grab these 5 sections here. It's just stuff that I
Yeah.
grabbed from here and I just put in a pattern, and eventually I exported this out, and I do some more fine tuning on Studio One with my vocals. That's mostly what I use Studio One for. It's easier to like
Mm,
customize vocals on Studio One because they have Melodyne integrated into it. So
yeah.
I try to I can sing, but like I don't. I also at the same time though I'm a perfectionist, so I'll do like pitch corrections and all this necessary stuff just to make sure it sounds as natural as it can be. So sometimes like I'll just pitch correct it and I won't even have to do auto tune or anything like that, or if I want to use auto tune, it'll be like an aesthetic. But yeah, we have these just patterns. I'm gonna play them behind the piano.
Mm-hmm.
I see, like that's what I'm talking about. Like these two end kind of the same way. So like if I find a couple notes that
Yeah.
I did that I like, I'll just repeat it with a different variation. So maybe I can have something to play with after.
Mm-hmm.
And so those were pretty much all the takes there, and then I like the sample ended up being like multiple versions and different flips and stuff. So I took
Yeah.
what was on here, and then like I said, I brought it to Studio One. I kind of did some fine tuning on the aspect of the vocals, and then eventually I brought everything back to a final flip in FL Studio. So I'm gonna load up that one real quick and
Mm-hmm.
show what it's like on its in its final embodiment.
Mm-hmm. So Summer's project drops. You hear what they done did to it after everything. What's your initial reaction?
Um, my initial reaction was, wow, I am a part of a record that her fans are just always gonna hold close and like love and just be a part of, and like um I had like one thing with like the Future record and even like the Justine Sky records I did with Tim, like when those came out I had that rush, right, with summer record, it wasn't much of a rush as it was like it was so surreal from like I didn't feel it. I didn't like feel it for like the first like 2 3 hours. It wasn't till like I woke up in the morning and like I just was flooded with like the most messages I've ever seen in my life, and just
Hmm.
like likes and all this, and then like sleeping on it and waking up and listening to it again, and just seeing the reaction on from people on Twitter and everything, just talking about that album. I'm just like, wow, like yeah, this is real. Like this is we here, and I'm part of like a classic cut on a great album, so um, I was just happy. I was happy and grateful that I kept pushing through. That um, that I never gave up. There was so many times where I had those voices in my head of just like give up, let this go, or like that is not as real as I thought it could be, and I just always fought against it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I had people who helped me along the way, man. But yeah, that was a big deal. Shout out to Summer Walker, shout out
Hmm.
to Love Renaissance. All the producers I worked with on that album, on that song is just was life changing, and it has been. The effects I'm feeling right now, like I feel them every day. You know, I
Hmm.
could type in for baby mama on Twitter, and there's gonna be a girl, popping her shit on with that song.
Right.
So
All day. You already know how
it's
that
uh,
go. I
it's
can
it's
relate to this
awesome.
right now.
It's awesome, man. So
Right.
yeah, I'm all
So
smiles with it.
so what's next for Daniel East?
Man, well, I just put out my fourth volume of Kingsway. That was the
Oh
first.
yeah, make sure everybody
Um,
go get the new Kingsway pack from Daniel East.
yes, sir. I'm actually thinking because you were saying if I wanted to break down another sample, I'll break down something off of Kingsway because I kind of worked on like a whole new sound these last
Hmm.
6 months like leading up to the
Okay.
pack. So I'll
Okay.
show
Cool.
some stuff off
Wavy,
of that.
Wavy, we got time.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Cool.
All
Oh yeah,
right,
go
cool.
ahead and
So
do that.
all right, cool. So I'm gonna just real quickly just show this like how those vocals came out and the final arrangement on this. Um, yeah. And then on the second half, there you go. Yeah, on this last part, I reversed pretty much the whole sample, and that made that the outro. So that was one of the key parts of the new
Mm.
arrangement.
Hmm.
This was a part I wish they used in the record though. I won't even lie, cause I thought this would have been dope as an outro.
Yeah. Right. That would have been crazy. It's always those parts, and then it's like,
Yeah, and yeah, like even I said, earlier, shouting out 40 because like in a lot of ways he's like an inadvertent mentor, and I say inadvertent because I don't know the man, but like I know his sound, and I've listened and I've studied his sound so much, and yeah, just like a big way of how I think of these R&B samples, with the reverse leads and all that stuff. Like I'm just taking the stuff I did going and forward, and I reverse it, and if it sounds good, it sounds good. If it doesn't, I do something else. So I just go with the flow of what sounds good and what doesn't. I really just try to trust my ear, and
hmm,
the theory stuff, it helps, but it's not the end all be all. I had a phase
right.
where I got so focused on what chord I was pressing and what scale and what numbers, chords like progression am I doing, and that was starting to take away the fun from the music. So I was seeing a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
what people who are classically trained deal with, where it's like they feel like they can't get a feeling because they're so locked in on what they learned. So like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I use theory as an additional. It's just it's a helper. It allows me to find tones and chords and things that I do like, that I do enjoy to use. But a lot of times, like on this Kingsway pack, I did a lot of stuff by ear, in the sense of I just went in on my keyboard playing chords and playing things, and not necessarily thinking too heavily into what scale I'm in or anything like that. If I want to drop the scale, I just transpose it. Like, we got to keep things
Right.
simple as we're creating it, because if we don't keep things simple, it's just gonna be tedious and not fun. So um, going into this, I'm gonna break down my favorite sample from the pack. It's called Talon. And
So,
just
what
from
record
the
from 40 really inspired you? Because you did say he was an inadvertent mentor. What's a really big 40 record that like really helped your process along?
uh, well, the first record I ever heard from him that really I was already on to Drake for a while with comeback
Mm-hmm.
season and just like So Far Gone, all that. Like, that was great music, right? But I was still at that time, I was like 10. I was like 10 or 9 or 10. So like I was into music, but not like to the level yet where I was understanding what was going on. But as the
Yeah.
years passed, when they dropped Club Paradise, like that record just did something to me, man. Like, and that was like one of the first beats that I ever tried to like remake. That was things that I would do as a kid. Like, I was trying to remake beats of my favorite producers. So I would try to
Mm-hmm.
remake Jay Dilla beats. Like, I tried to remake the Jay Dilla
Right.
beat.
Mine was Ninth Wonder.
Yo, not shout out to Ninth, man. FO,
Exactly.
the FO king, bro. Like, literally, like that man was
Yeah.
using FO when everybody was using FPCs and looking down on
Mm-hmm.
chopping up samples on Slicer, Slice X.
Right.
So shout out to Ninth, because like, yeah, the same thing too, bro. Like, you know, I there was Ninth Wonder beats. I try to recreate all that stuff. So 40 was just another one. So some of my favorite records that he contributed on it, and obviously it's like all Drake stuff, but like Club Paradise, Over My Dead Body. Like, the other night I was listening to that record, and it just made me feel like a kid again. It made me feel like I'm 13 listening to this in my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that feeling. It just makes me feel like a kid again when I hear those songs, those older cuts. More recent stuff like Jaded, I love that record. I actually did a cover of that song with this artist I work with, super dope. Her name's Kaylee and Mary, and
Mm-hmm.
I like pretty much like remade the beat in a sense, like in a way. So I love that. I love that record. There's so many, bro. There's almost too many to count. But he's had a big influence on just like my approach and my sound, and hopefully hopefully I meet the goat one day and get to tap in and
Right.
just like learn some of his process of what he literally does, and see how much of it that I get right in the process of like trying to decode it without knowing the person, so because that's
Mm-hmm.
like at the end of the day, man, like one thing too with this music, going back to what I was saying earlier, I'm not doing anything the person's watching this stream can't do, because we're all using the same chords, the same scales, and more times than not, we're using the same sounds too. I mean, most of us are finding our way to get access to Arteria and complete, and just like getting access to these more high quality sounds. We're in a time now too. If you can't afford the sounds, you can always go to free resources too, like Spitfire's lab stuff. Like, there's stuff on my inversions that was just straight up like half the sample, almost all the sample was free VSTs. So
Mm-hmm.
there's great stuff out there too for that as well. So
Okay. You breaking down? You want to break down the Kingsway one?
yeah, I'm gonna break down this one. So I'm gonna play it real
Mm-hmm.
quick. Um, Screen. Hold on.
Mm-hmm. So, how's your relationship with Frank Dukes now? Like, you got a couple of packs and you kind of got up there, as far as records.
Yeah, no, that's my guy. We have a great relationship, a great connection. Jang is just he's doing a lot of solo stuff right now too. So just shout out to him.
Mm,
It's like I call it like GTA side missions. Like he completed the main mission, right? This guy became a legend. Now he just gets to do whatever he wants with his music. So and he does it well.
right.
Everything he does well. So he excels at. So
Hmm.
he just inspires me. And he's another person that's like it's just a palette of what I see myself
Hmm.
roughly becoming, like how I would want to sculpt out my career as I go
Yeah.
forward. So that's my guy for sure. Um,
What's hmm
Apologies, but it's the stream still not showing.
yeah.
Okay,
Waves is it good?
bad, bad.
Okay. Well, being around him that long, what's the best piece of advice you got from him?
I'm sorry, you had skipped just a little bit when you said that. It
Oh, it
was
skipped.
something regarding Vice.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I said, what's the best piece of advice you got from Frank Dukes?
Um, to just like to be brave, like in your attempt to make compositions, like try things that just seem unorthodox. If it sounds weird to you, you almost should put it in, because there's a difference between it's not sounding good and it's sounding maybe weird or unorthodox. There's a very delicate balance between those things. So
Hmm.
um it's just about like really maintaining that aspect of like just having the willingness to experiment and see where a composition leads you to. And that was something that I did for the entire Kingsway, my most previous, my most latest release. I just tried to really push the boundaries of what I was doing with my samples and just the techniques and stuff like um, messing around with like automation clips. The power of that I kind of learned in making this pack,
Yeah.
because I did a lot of manipulation with that in regards to like this new approach I was doing with plucks and one shots. So um, I think the screen went back up if I'm not mistaken. If Waze can confirm that for me. It's crazy. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. We still good, Waves? Or we got time? Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. We could probably save it. But yeah, because I still got some more questions I want to ask her. So yeah. But yeah, Daniel. So what's one if you could go back in time and go back to yourself when you first started making music? What's the one thing you would tell your former self?
If I had something to like advice to give myself when I was younger.
Mm-hmm. Only one thing you got, you're out of there.
It's a good question. Um, Man, that's a great question.
Oh man.
And because you know what, I don't want to sound cliche by saying this, but it's really truly what I would tell the if I was like if me was able to go to 10 years back to the 14-year-old version of myself, I would just be like, everything is gonna happen the way you think it's gonna happen if you keep doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I might have not understood it at that time, just like a lot of people who are younger don't understand it. But it's like you gotta just make this a lifestyle. If you make it a lifestyle, it's going to happen. Everybody's gonna get their turn. There's a space for everybody to thrive in this industry. The issue is that there's a separation, and it's a very thin line, because I met people who are way more talented than me, worlds beyond my talent. They don't have my work ethic. and vice versa. Like I had a time where maybe my work ethic wasn't as good as it needed to be, and there's a reason. And your career will match where your work ethic is. And
Hmm.
if you're someone who's watching the stream right now, that's like, all right, that's cap because I'm working my ass off and things are not happening for me. Okay,
Right.
just take a breather, relax, and just know like you gotta keep that you gotta keep working hard, right? But you also gotta work smart. If you're just making beats and you're making samples and all of these things are sitting in your hard drive collecting dust, not doing anything, you're hurting yourself. So I just tell myself just to like keep doing what I was doing because at that time I was just exploring, having fun, and just making music. So
Hmm.
that's what was carrying me for sure.
Yes, sir. So where's Daniel East gonna be in 5 years?
I'd say more than anything, someone who has a very significant impact on music in terms of its direction, where it's going. Um, Someone who is going to play a part in the rise um, in a lot of up and coming artists' careers, not only with
Hmm.
people that I'm developing right now, but people that I've yet to meet. Um, and I think any accomplishments or like rewards for that will reflect in what I believe I will become. I don't like to put like, oh, I'm gonna get 10 of this or I'm gonna have a Grammy this or that. I just know
Hmm.
like those things will come with the territory if I'm in that territory. So I believe I'll be
Right.
there. I believe I'll be there in 5 years from now. I believe I'll be there sooner than 5 years too as well. So I'm just excited to see where the journey goes. And I also at 5 years from now, I also see myself in a position where I'm 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 playing a part of spearheading the next generation of composers and producers and finding ways to empower them and be the person that I needed at certain parts of my career. Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, we thankful for having you, my guy,
Yes, sir. You already know, bro.
my
It was
dog.
it was great. I wish I could have streamed it, showed the second sample, but freaking between the time and just like FL going a little crazy on me,
Hmm.
got a little hard
Hell
a little
yeah.
bit.
We know how that go.
But hey, we got the most important one because I wanted to show the people I wanted to show people
Hmm.
the sample behind for Baby Mama because like I liked how that sample went just because
Hmm.
that one was one I kind of was lax on. I didn't really like I didn't do too much on, but I liked it and I believed in it and through belief and just a bit of patience, things happened that I would have never thought. You never know when your time is coming if you're a producer watching. You never
Hmm.
know. And once it happens, it happens. There's things happening now after that record. It's just my life is changing. So it's just like it's amazing. God is good. I'm grateful and blessed.
Hmm. Yes, sir. This has been another episode of Spill Your Sauce with my boy Daniel East. I'm D Sharp. Everybody follow the Twitch stream. You already know
Yes
what it
sir.
is.
Yes
My
sir.
boy Wavy, shout out.
Yep, shout out Waves. Yep, shout out D
Yeah, big
Sharp. Shout out the whole
waves.
Wiz cook up, man. I'm gonna be, I'm
Yes,
trying to get
sir.
active with Discord, so I'll be up in the Discord, just chopping it up, see what's going. You
Yes,
guys already know,
sir.
man. I had a great
All
time.
right. Yes, sir. Wavy, we up out of here.